It has taken me a long time to decide who I wanted to do this video about. When I got the alert from Nando V Movies, go check out his channel, linked in the description, about the one Villainous scene video essays, I wanted to throw my hat into the ring. I spent hours going over which villain I wanted to talk about. Should I discuss Nagato and his 6 paths of pain from Naruto? Should I talk about how much of Dio is such a charming and satisfying character? I even considered doing Dwarf and the Flask Homunculus from Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. And every time I thought over who the video should be about, my mind kept wandering back to one scene in particular. And I'm sure you can guess by the title of the video and the thumbnail, so I won't stall anymore. Rise up, Scouts, and offer your heart to this one villainous scene. Last year, during the height of the lockdown, I decided to rewatch all of Attack on Titan in preparation for Season 4 Part 1 releasing in the winter of 2020. I finished in November, and the first episode aired in December. All I had to do was wait 1 month, right? Yeah, as soon as I finished Season 3, I fully caught up to the rumbling art that night. It shocked me to my core seeing what was happening, but one scene in particular stuck with me the entire way through.
あんたどこ行ってたの？
ちょっといいですか？
今からか？
いいんじゃない？まだ開幕まで時間あるよ。こっちです。
一体どうしたんだ？
行けばわかりますよ。こちらです。
ああ。
来ましたよ。
よう、4年ぶりだな、ライナー。
エレン。
This one sentence sets the entire tone of the entire scene, but nothing happens. It's not some super intense fight or self-righteous monologue. All they do is talk. This is a talk between the two villains of Attack on Titan, and before anyone says anything, yes, Eren Yeager is a villain. Starting from his attack on Marley, he is a villain. This man's morals took an Olympic high dive off into the deep end when he kissed Historia's hand. To briefly explain, there is a difference between an antagonist and a villain. Just the same way that there is a difference between the protagonist and the hero. An antagonist is someone who pushes back against the ideals and actively opposes the protagonist. A villain is a person who, or thing, whose evil action drives the plot forward. Eren is the protagonist, but he's also the villain of Attack on Titan. Same way that Lelouch from Code Geass or Light Yagami from Death Note, they are not heroes. And in Attack on Titan Season 4, his actions are considered by many characters and even himself to be evil. So now that we have gone over why Eren is a villain, it's time to break down this scene and figure out why it makes him a great villain. And if you still aren't convinced, just pretend that this video essay is about Reiner or something, since he's here too. Okay, so moving forward, I am following a script, but I've also not really gotten used to this, so if I go ramble on for a moment, just know that I'm trying my best. But to properly analyze the scene, I'm going to break it up into 4 sections, starting with the greeting. The scene begins with Eren meeting Reiner and telling him it's been 4 years since they last saw each other, and saying that they have a lot to catch up on. Falco looks back and forth between the two in confusion, and Reiner looks on in horror at who Falco brought him to meet. Eren then demands that Reiner has a seat so they can begin their talk. This first part showcases the absolute control Eren has in his hands right now, his position to make demands, and revealing the Attack on Titan equivalent of Alfred Hitchcock's Bomb Under the Table, as Eren details how they have such wonderful seats, how it is so close to the stage even though they're underneath a residential building. This communicates 3 things. 1. Eren has taken every person in the building hostage under the threat of his transforming. 2. He specifically chose the meeting place to be able to hear what is being said on stage. And 3. Showing Reiner the cut on his hands means that he will not only be able to transform immediately, but he will also be able to transform faster than Reiner, and most likely kill him and everyone else caught in the blast. Reiner is still a little stunned from the shock and sits down at Eren's commands. Falco tries to leave, but Eren demands that he stays without breaking eye contact with Reiner. Reiner tells Falco to do as he says. This turns Falco, someone Reiner cares about and wants to see it live a good life, into the biggest hostage of all. Going off script real quick, I just want to briefly explain what the bomb under the table thing is. So, in an interview that I will play in a moment, Alfred Hitchcock is detailing how to correctly write suspense, and the difference between suspense and surprise. Here is the video of him explaining it, and I will just leave it in the video for you guys to watch.
4 people are sitting around a table, talking about baseball, whatever you like. 5 minutes of it, very dull. Suddenly, a bomb goes off, blows the people to smithereens. What do the audience have? 10 seconds of shock. Now take the same scene and tell the audience there is a bomb under that table and will go off in 5 minutes. Well, the whole emotion of the audience is totally different because you've given them that information that in 5 minutes' time that bomb will go off. Now the conversation about baseball becomes very vital because they're saying to you, don't be ridiculous, stop talking about baseball, there's a bomb under there. You've got the audience working. Now the only difference is, although I've been guilty of, in the picture sabotage, of making this error, but I've never made it since, the bomb must never go off. Because if you do, you work that audience into a state, and then they'll get angry because you haven't provided them with any relief. And that's almost a must. So a foot touches the bomb, somebody looks down and says, my God, a bomb, out of the window, then it goes off, just in time.
We are only a couple minutes in and the tension is indescribable. As said before, Eren has absolute control of the situation. Reiner is about to piss himself from terror, Falco is confused out of his mind, and hundreds of hostages not knowing that one slip up from Reiner or Willy Tiber, they could all be wiped out in seconds. After cutting back to the other Marleyan characters, the show begins and the fanfare plays, signifying the start of the show and the start of the next stage of the conversation, which we will call the show. As the show begins, we have the questions that have been on everyone's mind since the reveal. How and why are you here? Reiner must have never heard of the saying, don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to, because what Eren says next haunts him. Eren says that he is the same as him, there to do the same thing he did to Paradise. Reiner is on the verge of a panic attack hearing this as the show in the background begins. As the story progresses and other things happen in the back, Falco finally puts 2 and 2 together, realizing that old friend must have meant more than 4 years ago, and that means they met on the island. Eren now has Reiner fully in the palm of his hands. The armor titan has been rendered completely defenseless as Eren interrogates him. Cutting away from the conversation, we see the details of the Marley's history with the Eldians and how the King of the Walls locked the Titans on the island, and with his founding Titan powers and the will of the king denouncing war is what has kept everyone safe all this time. But the founding Titan is no longer in the royal family and is currently under the control of Eren Yeager, detailing the plans of the rumbling and how Eren is the biggest threat to humanity and everyone. Eren doesn't even try to deny this claim. Falco is now equally as horrified as Reiner because he realized that he helped Eren by delivering the letters. He thought it was just helping a crippled old man send letters to his family, but in reality, he helped a genocidal maniac tell his comrades that he planned to attack Marley. This part of the conversation shows all of the gears turning in this great machine of a plan. The warriors have been captured, Eren is seconds away from killing civilians, and all Falco and Reiner can do is just sit back and listen. This isn't any coincidence that Eren is here. It is a fully planned out attack. Falco was a useful pawn in the plan, and Eren is just still sitting there, calmly. He hasn't shown even an ounce of emotion this whole time. And as Eren said before, he isn't there for some grandiose revenge plot, nor is he really just him being an evil mastermind. He doesn't have a choice. He is doing what needs to be done, but the lack of choice is more literal than one might think. Moving on to the next section, we have the reason. Willie Tybur continues his speech, calling Eren the one who will initiate the rumbling, the world genocide plan to unleash the colossal titans of the walls and rumble the lands beyond the island of Parody. And Eren agrees with him. Eren even says to himself that he is the bad guy, but to him, all those years ago, they looked like the bad guys to him. All the evil and malice that they are attributing to Eren right now is everything that he once felt as a child who suddenly had his home and family ripped away from him. But Eren agrees with Willie. I am the bad guy, he says. I might even destroy the world, he says. Eren details the events of that day and asks Reiner, why was my mother eaten by a titan that day? Eren interrogates him to try and understand Reiner's reasoning, and comes to the conclusion that if it was to save the world, then he didn't have a choice. Eren recounts about the time that he spent with the Marleyans, eating the same food, sleeping under the same roof, as the people he called his enemies. He tells Reiner that they are the same, whether it's inside Marley or inside the walls. Reiner was just a kid that was brainwashed into following orders, and Eren empathizes with him, asking Reiner if all this time he had been suffering. Reiner is in full breakdown mode now, detailing about how the walls getting destroyed and his mom getting eaten was all his idea. Eren and Bertolt wanted to turn back to Marley after Marcel died, but Reiner forced them to continue, and he admits it was all his fault. Reiner then begs Eren to kill him, something he tried to do himself, but he couldn't. This part is heavy, because we get a ton of emotion from Reiner, and finally understand why Eren is doing what he needs to do, and why Reiner did the same. They're both doing what needs to be done, and they don't have a choice. Eren asked Reiner if he was suffering tears Reiner down, because he has been. Reiner has been suffering since he became a warrior. He just wants it all to end. The final section is the Attack Titan. I'll just let you guys watch this next part for yourselves.
私はこの地を恨みました。他の誰よりもエルディア人の根絶を願いました。もう嫌なんだ。自分が俺を殺してくれ。ですが私は死にたくありません。それは私がこの世に生まれてきてしまったからです。我々は国も人種も異なる者同士です。しかし強大な敵を前にした今こそ一つになる時なのです。だから今死にたくない者は力を貸してほしい。どうか一緒に未来を生きてほしい。皆で力を合わせればどんな困難も乗り越えていけるはずです。
やっぱり俺は お前と同じだ。
どうか私と共に力を合わせてパラディ島の悪魔と戦ってほしい。
多分生まれた時からこうなんだ。
私ビリー・タイマーはマーレ政府特使として今ここに宣言します。
俺は進み続ける。敵を駆逐するまで。
パラディ島勢力へ宣戦布告を。
Yeah, Eren is the villain now. In attacking Marley, he cemented himself as the biggest threat to humanity. The reason why Eren is such a great villain is because we have seen the path he has taken to get to this point, the pain and suffering he has endured, the loss of life it has taken to get here. And we know that Eren isn't bluffing. He is 100% serious about his plan. I've mostly been avoiding spoilers, but I want to detail some stuff that has been happening in the manga, so if you are an anime only or haven't watched AOT yet, please skip ahead to this timestamp. Getting into manga territory, we are going to skip ahead of the Marleyan assault on Parody. This begins just where the anime ends as of this video, and the Marleyan assault on the island. Eren teams up with Zeke and all hope seems lost when Gabby shoots Eren's head off. But the founding titan appears. The walls crumble and every Eldian across the world hears Eren's declaration of war. The rumbling has begun and there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. In the fractions of a second Zeke was in contact with decapitated Eren, they spent a long time in the path reliving Grisha Yeager's memories and showing how Eren has been in control of the entire series, from forcing Grisha to kill the Rice family to freeing Ymir from the bonds of the royal family and unleashing devastation on the world. As Eren said to Reiner, he didn't have a choice either. Not because he was being forced to do this by someone, but ever since he kissed Historia's hand, he saw everything. The past, the future, all of it. He knew that in order for Eldians to finally be at peace and not be treated as monsters, but treated as human beings, the rumbling was the only option. To cap this off, what makes Eren an amazing villain is that in the end, his reasonings were understandable. They weren't right, they weren't just, but you can understand. The characters and the reader understand the pain he went through. In this scene, we don't see some mustache-twirling villain whose only goal is chaos and destruction. All we see is a tired and broken man who is just doing what needs to be done no matter the cost, even if it's his own friends and allies. He knows that if it doesn't get done, then no one else will do it. And he will do it desperately if he wants to live his life in peace without fear. He deems that in order to save the world, the attack titan must keep moving forward until his enemies are destroyed. And with that, the bomb under the table goes off.